I trained to be a yoga teacher in the early 1990s, and I started to teach part-time in 1994. I had never really intended to be a full-time yogi, but the more I practiced and immersed myself in the history and traditions of yoga, the more it made sense to me as a way of life. I'd always had a curiosity about what makes us tick as a human being, who we are, why we're here. And before I came to yoga, I tried to find the answers in science. I worked for 7 years as a molecular biologist, and while that was great for explaining how we work as an organism, it didn't answer my deeper questions about who we are. So I changed tack completely and became an actor. I guess it was a way of looking at the psychology of being human. Making a change in career like that at that time in the mid-80s was a kind of crazy thing to do, and it came with a lot of stress. And I decided that I needed to do something to restore some balance to my life, to make me healthier. And that's how almost 30 years ago, or more than 30 years ago, I came to yoga. When I trained as a yoga teacher, I discovered a whole new world that I had never known existed. I'd always thought of yoga as a physical practice, but I discovered that it was in fact a complete science of how to integrate our personality physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and that it did in fact answer the deeper questions that I had had. And so my acting career came to a natural end, and in 2002 I opened a full-time yoga school. Shortly after that I met Paula, and she joined me in the school, and since then together we have continued to develop the school, to study and practice yoga with great teachers both here and in India. And most recently we've also brought Ayurveda into the school, and that's how we've arrived at where we are today at Yogaveda Living. Yoga, for me, gives us a way to understand ourselves, to look at the tendencies and habits that we have that are not so beneficial and ultimately make us unhappy. And it gives us the practical tools to address this and to cultivate habits and tendencies that give us genuine happiness, not just short-term happiness, but something deep and profound, lasting and unaffected by outer circumstances. And the beauty of it is that this is something that we can all do. It's within all our capacities to find this within ourselves because it's part of our nature as human beings. Teaching yoga is the most fulfilling thing I can think of to do. I believe that it's the role that I was actually meant to play in this game of life, and helping people to discover themselves, to discover that they can create a life of health and happiness for themselves through simple practices. It's a beautiful thing.